Good morning and welcome to Meta Mondays. I am your host, Dr. Linda Williams Lockhart. I'm so glad that you're able to join me this morning or whenever you decide to watch this episode. Last week, I ended the episode by talking about being a caterpillar. I'm using the life cycle of a butterfly to tell my story, to tell my journey. And last week I talked about how I allowed my childhood to rob me of motherhood. Well, today I want to continue in that same caterpillar state, or stage, I should say. So today I want to talk about the day my brother died. For you see, my brother James, his name was James Marshall Feaster, and we were very close. He was my protector. Remember me telling you how he protected me from my grandmother's husband? He was my father figure. He was my best friend. We looked out for each other. We were 4 years apart, and my brother was the first person I truly loved. Back in April of 2000, his birthday was April 30th. He was turning 40 that year of 2000, and my family and I were going to have him a surprise birthday party at my house. So I was dusting and cleaning up, and as I was dusting, I got to the bookshelf. And I picked up the picture where he had given me away in my wedding. So our wedding picture was there. And I picked it up. And as I was dusting the picture off, I said, and this was Saturday, I said, Lord, don't ever take my brother. So Sunday came, his 40th birthday. We went to church, and it was the 5th Sunday. And my husband at the time was the youth, my husband at that time had just started preaching. So Reverend Ellis always allowed him to preach on the 5th Sunday. Well, he preached, but Feaster didn't show up. My brother didn't show up, and that was very unusual. He didn't miss church unless he was out of town or working. So I had to speak that evening at another church. Feaster didn't show up. Very unusual. So we all gathered at my house, and at the time, they had the pagers. We paged it. We called it. No response. No response. But then I kind of got uneasy. So that Monday, went to work, and he and I always talked with each other every day at 4 o'clock. And I even had talked to him that Saturday morning. And I forgot to tell him to come to my house for dinner. And but we had finished talking, and I forgot. So then Sunday evening we all gathered, and he never showed. Monday went to work, came home. 4 o'clock came. He didn't call me. Well, I called him. He didn't answer. So when my husband got home from work, I said, I surely hope nothing has happened to my brother. And my husband responded by saying, girl, he's probably out with some girl and he don't want you all to know it. And I was like, well, that may be the case. But 10 o'clock Monday came. Monday night came. And that phone call came. And I heard my husband, his voice raised, and I was like, who is he talking to? Because I had already went to bed. And he came down the hall. And he said, Linda, get up. Something has happened to Feaster. And I said, what do you mean something has happened to him? And he said, Feaster is dead. And guys, I'm here to tell you, I just lost it. And he died on his 40th birthday. After I had asked God that Saturday Don't take my brother. So after that, I remember that Tuesday, after his funeral, I remember getting in his car and driving to the edge of Moss Lake. And I said, death has to be easier than this pain. And I'm so glad that I didn't do what I thought would be easier. After his death, I never wanted to go back to church. I didn't want to hear anything about God. I was so angry and hurt that God would allow my brother, my best friend, my father figure to die. I remember thinking to myself, and I remember saying to God, was it not enough for you that I grew up without a mother? Was it not enough for you that I grew up without a father? And now you took the one person that I love with all of my heart. What kind of God are you? Why should I even serve a God like you? There is no way you could love me and do this to me. I didn't want to have anything else to do with God. And I'm telling you, people were coming around, oh, give it to God. God will take care of you. God will ease your pain. Well, where do you go when you blame God for the pain? How do you go to God and ask him to help you through the pain, and he was the one that you're blaming for the pain? Where do you go then? I was done with this God that so many people talked about. I was done with this God that I been coming to church worshiping this God. And then this. Really? Why should I serve you? Why should I love you? Why should I even try anymore? This pain for me was so great and so intense. Life just wasn't worth living for me. I was done. But shortly after his death, Ellis Chapel made my husband the youth pastor. And my friend Pam, because I had quit coming to church, I didn't want any parts. Didn't want to be anywhere where I thought God was. And so Pam talked to me about my lack of attendance. I didn't really tune into what she was saying because I really didn't care. And she told me that it didn't seem right that Ray's the youth pastor and his wife wasn't attending. I knew what she was saying was right, but at that time in my life, I just didn't care. And so I began attending on a regular basis. And you know, I always say God must have a sense of humor. Because after that, after him being the youth pastor for 4 years, our former pastor, Reverend Ellis, retired. And then the church elected him to become the pastor. So here I am, the first lady, the pastor's wife. But on the inside, I was messed up. I was the same old ugly caterpillar with the same old attitude, same old behavior. And it didn't stop there. Not long after Ray became the pastor, our Sunday school superintendent resigned. And when he called and said he was going to resign, I just jokingly said, I should take the position. And when I said that, the superintendent said, yes, you should. And I said, oh, no. But then I heard a voice say, why not? It wasn't my husband's voice. It wasn't the superintendent's voice. And I was like, So I immediately threw the phone down and sat down, and I eventually said, okay, I'll do it. But let me remind you, I was angry with God. I didn't want to have anything to do with God. I didn't read the Bible. I didn't study the Bible. I didn't even pray because I wanted nothing to do with this God. Then, not long after that, the Sunday school teacher for the young adult class resigned. And as the superintendent, I knew I didn't want to teach the class, so I decided to pray and ask God, who does he want to teach that class? At first, I told God who to get to teach it. And as I discussed it with my friend Pam, she said, who are you to tell God who to get to teach his word? So I decided to pray again. Not sure if he would answer me. So I said, okay, God, who do you want to teach that class? And that same voice said, you. I said, me? I was like, okay. And I was like, now remind you, I'm not on speaking terms with God. I wasn't reading. I wasn't studying. I wasn't praying. Only when I absolutely had to pray. So I said, okay. This is the game you want to play? Okay. So here I am. This ugly caterpillar. Just going through the motion of life because I wasn't living. I was only existing. So here I stood before a group of young adults as the teacher, but my life wasn't looking any different than theirs. And here I am teaching about a God that I really didn't believe in. Here I am teaching about a God of love that I didn't even believe loved me. And he had the audacity to tell me to teach his word. My life was still the same. The same old bitter, angry, bad attitude. The same old me. And guys, listen, this went on for years. 18 years to be exact. I'm a teacher by profession. So I knew how to study to teach a lesson. And I could teach it very creatively. And guess what? And my class grew by leaps and bounds. But yet my life never changed. It never changed. There are many of you who have experienced trauma that has caused you to blame God for the pain that is associated with that trauma. I get it. I understand. I went through it for 18 years. Teaching about a God that I really didn't believe in. teaching about a God that I blamed for this unbearable pain. Teaching about a God that didn't love me, I thought. And at that point in time in my life, I didn't have much love for him either. So I get it. I get it. Where do we turn? What do we do when God is to blame? Who can we run to? I think we have been misled to believe that once we accept Christ into our lives, that life is going to be easy. But here's the reality. He never promised us that. For Romans 8:18 says, no amount of suffering will compare to the glory that he will show us. I needed to see God's glory because at that point in time in my life, I wasn't seeing it. But I'm here to tell you, he will show it to you. Things may not make sense to you now. You may not can see how all this going to work together for your good, but it will. I promise you it will. I promise you that it will. You may be like me, moving through life as a caterpillar, not knowing which way to turn, which way to go. But just hold on. Because if you keep searching for God, he's not lost. But if you keep searching, he'll allow you to find it. So until next week, when I share with you how my life changed, I just want you to know, it may seem to you right now that God is an unfair God, that God is an unjust God, that God is an unloving God. But stay tuned to next week, and I'll tell you differently. So until then, have yourself a super fantastic, great day. God bless you.